What's the dumbest thing someone has ever told you? Cold pizza is healthier because it's not greasy. A family friend told me never drink cold water after a meal because the fat will solidify in your stomach. If the fat's a liquid, your body doesn't recognize it as food. This was like 12 years ago, and I still laugh about it today. It's dangerous to listen to your own heartbeat with a stethoscope. They said your heart will try to match what you heard, and that will in effect stop your heart. There was no explanation given when asked why medical personnel didn't have issues listening to patients with heartbeat irregularities. Had a teacher tell our class that it can't rain over water. She proceeded to tell us that if the clouds are over water, they will just wait until they were over land so it doesn't waste water. If a cloud is smart enough to wait until it's over land so it doesn't waste water, then it has roughly the same mental capacity as any random barnyard chicken. And therefore, we should be able to hunt, kill, and eat clouds. I'll bet they are high in calcium and full of life-extending fluorine. Fight me. The woman I worked with when I was about 20 believed in spontaneous generation of life. Generatio spontanea. E.g. rats would come into existence within a pile of food and paper waste without the necessity of a mommy and daddy rat. I saw a YouTube video from a creationist who argued that, if evolution were true, you would find living creatures appearing inside sealed jars of peanut butter. How many jars have you opened? Have you ever seen one crawl out? I've been told by multiple people that fish aren't animals. When I was in high school, a friend was talking about being a vegetarian. I was confused because she had just eaten fish. She said that fish wasn't meat and another person there agreed with her. I asked if they weren't meat. Were they vegetable or mineral? No good answer to that one. My aunt argued with me that humans have two hearts, one on each side. She didn't know the difference between heart and lungs. Are you absolutely 100% certain your aunt isn't the doctor? https://n. Wikipedia. Org-wiki the Doctor Who. My boyfriend left his apartment for a week, came back, and saw shit and a used washcloth in his private bathroom toilet. His roommate was the only one there. When confronted, he swore on everything that a demon had done it and tried to put the blame on him. Lol. I have a similar story, but no demons. I lived with a couple friends and paid a little extra for the master bathroom. I went on vacation for a couple weeks at one point, and when I came back my bathroom door was closed when I had always left it open. After struggling to open the door, somehow a towel had been pulled under to keep it sealed up. I noticed that literally every available surface was covered in ice trays, each with a little bit of soil and a tiny sprout growing in it. Counters, toilet, bathtub, the works. Come to find out, my idiot roommate had decided that my bathroom would be a great place to grow marijuana because it had a skylight in it. I couldn't get a straight answer out of him about how he expected to get fully grown plants in the 2 weeks I was away. Because he for damn sure knew that shit was not going to fly when I got back. I can only assume he was high as shit when the inspiration struck and he didn't think much about it after that. Regular bras don't go under plain shirts. Only blouses. This girl was appalled I was wearing a normal bra instead of a sports bra under a graphic shirt. Like lectured me about how it's not right. Water runs downhill. Which is south. Water cannot flow north because that's uphill. They were very surprised to hear the reality. That they thought Mount Rushmore was a natural wonder. They literally thought it appeared in nature that way. I had a roommate that owed taxes 1 year, so he didn't file the return. He corrected his withholding so he would get a refund the next year. Filed that return. 6 weeks later he gets a note from the IRS that he owed from the prior year. And they were using his refund to pay it, and he still owed them for interest and penalties. His reply. They can't do that. They can. And they did. And their next step was going to be to garnish his wages if he didn't reply. My 3rd grade teacher told me that I had spelled grateful incorrectly and proceeded to mock me. Are you talking about a cheese grater here? It's spelled GREAT fall. I had a customer insist that $100 $40 equals $80. Me. What is 10 for? Customer. 6. Me. Yes. So what is 140? Customer. 80. SMH edit. For emphasis. Not indicative of factorials of the integer. I love you fellow nerds EDIT2. They had withdrawn $40 from their bank account, which had contained $100, and insisted they should have $80 left. Used to work at a gas station. College kid comes in, say he has no cash but wants to get cash back from his debit card. Sure thing. That's a soda. Swipes his card. Card is declined. Swipes it again. Card is declined. I suggest that he may not have any money in his bank account. He looks at me confused and asks what that has to do with anything. I tell him, because cash back comes from your bank account. He tells me no it doesn't, it's free money. He swipes it again, same thing. Then insists my Matchian is broken. I type in his card, same thing, it's declined. And he demands to know how it's declined, if it's free money. I have no idea how he made it to college. No calories in toast. Whiskey stops cancer. Plus you don't get cancer from menthol cigarettes. When they passed a law in Illinois that requires you to turn on your headlights whenever windshield wipers are needed. The guy told me that he always gets mixed up which way they mean. I knew a guy whose gearbox failed, so he's rolling into a car park with his hazards on. I rear-ended him and got all angry because he was indicating both ways. That if I froze my water bottles before putting them on my bike for long rides on hot summer days. They would weigh more. I just stared at him. I have another take, a frozen bottle will attract condensation, thus increasing total weight of the liquid both inside and outside the bottle. A few grams might be all the difference added, well. I used the word liquid when I meant water ice contents. I was a bit weird about the total weight sentence, could have been thus increasing the total weight, counting the inside contents and the extra liquid condensed on the outside of the bottle. Sorry. The guy at work told me that STDs were created by people having multiple sexual partners. When I pointed out that you could have a group of people that slept together and if none of them had any diseases they wouldn't catch anything, he just shook his head and told me that's not how it works. Edit. So after reading some of these comments, I want to clarify a few things for people who maybe didn't get the best sex ed or got none. In order for a disease to spread, you need a pathogen, most commonly a virus, examples HIV, HPV, or herpes, or a bacteria, examples chlamydia or syphilis. It is possible to be infected with some of these without knowing. And you can be contagious long before you show any symptoms. Regardless of the number of partners you have, the pathogen needs to already be present for you to become infected. If you are sleeping with multiple people, especially if you do not know them well or know their sexual history, it increases the risk of contracting an STD because it increases your possible exposures. There are things you can do to protect yourself. Always wear a latex condom. If you have a latex allergy there are appropriate substitutes, but be careful with natural substitutes, X. Sheepskin. Because while they prevent pregnancy, viruses are smaller than sperm and can still get though. Ask partners if they have an STD and when the last time they were tested. Get yourself tested regularly. If you have a cervix, get regular pap smears. If you get a positive result, tell your partners and get treatment if available. The very common STD is the HPV family, or human papillomavirus. There are over 100 different types of HPV. Not all of these cause health problems, but the ones that do cause genital warts and different cancers. It is possible to be infected with HPV for decades and never know unless you are being tested regularly. The good news is there's a vaccine. Get vaccinated. Many kids now receive the HPV vaccine as part of their regular school vaccinations. If you're not sure if you've had it, get it now. When this was added to the regular vaccine schedule varies by country and region, but generally if it's been more than 15 years since you were in grade 5, you likely don't have this vaccine. Also, when it was first introduced it was only given to girls, so if you're male and are older than about 20, you might not have this vaccine. And if you're a guy thinking, wait, HPV causes cervical cancer, I don't have one of those. Why do I need to get vaccinated? It helps to stop you contracting HPV and passing it to your partners, and if concern for your partner isn't enough for you, HPV can also cause testicular, anal or oral cancers. The girl told me she couldn't get a sunburn because there was too much wind. Same girl insisted she would become a doctor. I asked why she thought she couldn't tan or sunburn if there was a breeze with a clear sky and 100 degrees Fahrenheit weather. She explained that the wind would cause her to not sweat, so she wouldn't tan. We had a team lunch some years ago. And I ended up in a conversation with one of our account managers. A woman in her 30s who worked for a multi-million-pound company. She insisted that the sun was the same size distance as the moon. And stars were asteroids falling to Earth. This was long before the whole flat Earth idiocy kicked off, and to this day stands out as the most astoundingly ignorant thing I've ever heard. My wife's sister is married to a guy who wouldn't go to see Jurassic Park because he thought dinosaurs never existed. Edit. He is a young Earth creationist, so that's pretty self-explanatory. I work in childcare. The parent got mad at me because I put their little boy in a pink diaper because they didn't pack extras. Despite several reminders. I was told I'm trying to turn their son gay because of the color of a diaper. I work with kids. The number of parents who get upset over their kid getting a sticker meant for girls boggles my mind. Yes, if I put this Disney sticker on your son it's going to instantly turn him gay. You caught me. The coworker once told me after a storm. I got to work twice as fast this morning because all the traffic lights were out. The only reason they lived was because everyone else on the road knew that traffic lights default to an all-way stop when they're out. Edit. Wow. This blew up. Thanks for the award. Some more details without doxing anyone. This was probably 25 years ago. She was very young and had just graduated with a journalism degree. This was her first job, and her parents paid for everything her entire life. Shelter doesn't even cover it. One of our engineers said hesitantly, "You know it doesn't work that way, right? When lights fail, they default to their most restrictive state. In this case, that would be an always stop." She said, "I don't understand. Why would they do it that way?" He said, "Well, imagine you enter an intersection at 45 miles per hour at the same time as someone coming from a cross direction at the same speed. What would happen?" She thought about it and her eyes got huge. "I think she got it. I've had life insurance for 2 years. I'm gonna cash it out next year and get 100K. That Africa doesn't have access to the oceans." This was in 9th grade, but still I gasped. I called my credit card company to set up international card usage because I was going on a Mediterranean cruise. I told the agent one of the stops was Italy and he said, "How do take a cruise to Italy?" There was an awkward few seconds of silence and then he apologized for being an idiot and asked me to forget what he said. Went to a music festival with a couple of friends. One of the friends decided to take LSD. After the festival he wouldn't shut up about this girl he was in love with now. Didn't know her name, where she lived, and to boot she was there with a guy. He went home and told his wife of 7 years it was over. He said he had met his true love. The idiot didn't even talk to her. He saw her from across the way. Some people can't handle drugs and reality BTW. They divorced 4 months later. When the directions on a microwave meal say to keep the item in the microwave for some time after finishing, it's to allow the extra microwaves to get out of that food so it doesn't hurt you. That sounds like something a parent told their kid. So they wouldn't immediately eat it and burn themselves. Then they just didn't question it as an adult. I just found out Europe wasn't a state. It's its own country. Ben B. 2017 edit. He was 18 at the time. Once had a co-worker acquaintance who was about to get married tell me he was already planning to cheat on his wife. Not that he already had someone lined up, but that he would find someone. Just to cheat with. Why? Because 50% of spouses have affairs and that since it was him, it wouldn't be her. Edit, yes, he was perfectly serious. I told him should he and his future wife both have affairs while my wife and I do not. Then the statistic remains at 50%. He thinks he just needed an excuse to have an affair. I'm pretty sure they don't even have roads and cars up in Canada. Californian dude vacationing in Idaho, around 60 miles from Canada border. I once had an American ask what brought me across the pond after he found out I was Canadian. I told him I didn't cross any ponds, but was just visiting. He then decided to argue with me about how he didn't mean pond literally, but meant ocean.